What's up guys, welcome to another video. So Wednesday here, hump day, we're halfway through the week. I just got off annual leave, so I'm pretty relaxed. First day back at work, another 10 hours, usually pretty long hot days there, but that's all good. Been to the gym, and now it's time to get into this thing. Perfect. So we have this DC2 turbo, big old GT35 on there, external gate, front mount intercooler, all the good stuff. But what you can see here is that it needs a little bit of love. This manifold has several cracks in it. You can't quite see them here, but I'll show you once. Oh, you can see one there actually. So all this white here, that's actually coolant. So what's happening is when it's coming into boost, it's starting to stretch those head studs. It's a full stock block, quite a few Ks on her. And it's just starting to lift that head, push the coolant out through the exhaust, into the combustion chamber. Not in that order, by the way, you smart cunts. But coolant's getting into the exhaust, pushing out through here. There's a couple of other little small areas that are cracking, like this bracing. And I've gone and put some bracing on here. I believe this still hot as shit. It's just a thin wall turbo manifold. And they might have done a little bit more damage than good bracing it where they have, just given the expansion and contraction of the manifold and the way that the ram horn likes to curl up. But it's held on for a while. We've got a new manifold for it. I think it's just sitting on the front doorstep. We need to do things like mounting this. We're going to do ARP head studs. There's actually quite a lot of stuff we're going to do. We're doing timing belt, water pump. We're going to shim the oil pump. There's obviously head gasket, ARP head studs. What else? We're going to clean this up because this pipe here actually runs all the way up to here, and then another one starts there, and then there's another one there. So we're just going to weld up one piece there. We're going to weld up a new dump pipe. I have to get a V-band flange to suit the wastegate to go on the new manifold because for some reason it didn't come with one. So we're going to do that. Just generally refresh it, all new fluids, and front rear main seal, cam seals are a must because there's actually like a huge buildup of oil and grease. You can see it. I actually cleaned, I done the timing belt, I think. No, it's water pump on this a few years ago, and it was pristine when I left. It was clean. You can see up here, that's actually from when they first welded up the gate. It just went straight to the bonnet for a while and made it a bit of a sooty boy, so that's going to be a mission to clean, but we'll get it done. We're going to clean up some of this wiring too because that's a little bit of a hazard. There's a loose oil line, I think, down there causing a bit of havoc now. All this stuff, all the wiring, we're going to cut all of that out because I feel like that's soldered, which is not ideal. So we'll cut that out, crimp that. Yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, fuck it, I'm going to pull the whole motor out actually. That's going to be the easiest way to do this. Oh, piston rings. We're doing new rings too. New rings, new valve stem seals and stuff, just to freshen it all up anyway. Or as well, I should say. So we'll get that done. I'm just going to drop the motor. First things first, let's drop coolant, trans, and engine oil. Alright, that is the gurneying done, and she is still pretty dirty actually. But she's a lot cleaner, a lot less oil and crap everywhere now, so that's good. I guess next up what we're going to do is we're just going to pull off all the accessories and everything that's kind of holding the motor in and get it ready to come out. Now we got this girl out. Bloody mess. So even after a clean, you can see she is pretty bloody messy in here, like real bad. This is after a good gurney and everything, so damn. You can see the main cause of the issue is going to be all these leaks here, probably like a cam seal or maybe the front main seal. You can see she's gotten oil everywhere. It's gone and kind of chewed out that belt there too. Needs replacement most definitely. Thankfully this pulley is still good, doesn't look like it's deteriorated on the outside rubber here, but we don't know about the inside, so we'll have a look at that. Turbo seems good, spins up, no crazy play or anything in it. It is a new turbo. Look at the old PSR, Pulsar Turbo Systems, and everything else looks alright, except coming around here I saw these are the cracks that we've got. So we got this guy here, a couple more just up in there. There was one just in there too along this seam right here. we have our dump pipe, oddly enough, is running along the sump there, so that's hard pressed against the sump. It's actually somewhat dented it. The sump itself needs replacing because it is very much dented, and I dare say it doesn't sit flat. No, you can see our oil leaks there, even with that good gasket sitting in there. We'll have to redo this oil drain and everything with the new manifold, but other than that, there's nothing really detrimental to rebuilding and cleaning everything up that I can see. Nothing that's going to hold us back. A whole lot of cleaning, like a whole host of cleaning. You see up under here, we've got another oil leak maybe on under the manifold. Where's that coming from? There might be just this oil sandwich plate, so we can have a look at that. We got some shady looking wiring. Knock sensor is still in there, which is good. Whew. And yeah, let's get this car back down on the ground, get some wheels on it, push it out. We'll have to gurney and clean all of this out again. Probably a couple of times. That I've also cleaned, but hasn't come up too well. That's all exhaust from when you had the wastegate shooting straight up. Let's get the box off. Let's get this on an engine stand and pull it down, see what we got to work with.
Alright, so let's give this girl a clean down. So you might think there's a couple of open spots. We've got pots and stuff open, but it doesn't really matter in our case. Something needs to come off. The whole engine needs to be torn down and cleaned up anyway. Gearbox is the main thing that we're looking out for, keeping water and egress of that kind of crap out. But other than that, it's not really a biggie because the whole thing comes apart. All cleaned up. Wow. Mostly cleaned up on the outside at least. Alright, a little bit of something on the lens, but we are ready to disassemble this guy. So, nothing really too special about disassembling these motors. You do have to be careful about where you put the parts. That's probably the main thing. It's keeping everything organized and in a fashion that you can find it again, because, well, you can see this is a simple kind of setup. We haven't pulled everything out of the bay. A lot of the accessories are just chilling on the table and stuff now, but it's still a lot of moving parts, and if you haven't done it a few times like I have, you will lose, forget, misplace, reuse the wrong bolts. Some of the bolts are quite specific, like we've got your fuel rail bolts. There's these little guys here with the shanks for the intermediate shaft. This guy here, which I might add, is actually missing the dust cap there. We're going to find something for that, and just other little tiny bits and pieces. I like to keep everything grouped as well as possible for myself, but you might want to do it a little bit better using bags, using trolleys, trays, tables, just so you know where all your stuff is. It's definitely a must. But anyway, I'm going to start pulling this guy apart. We're going to start with probably the loom. We'll pull the loom, we'll pull the rocker cover, the dizzy, start on the timing side. We're going to get this pulley off, side mount alternator, and we'll just work our way through it. Yeah, right, so this guy was on his last legs for sure. Look at this screen. So the VTEC solenoid screen picks up any debris or anything. Not as fine as a oil filter, but still pretty fine. You can see, looking through there, you can't really see through it like you should be able to. Definitely got some shimmer in there, so we're going to go ahead and order some new bearings for that now, before we even get to the bearings down the bottom, because there's some scoring on the cams. It's not bad, but it is there. If that makes sense, you can see some little nicks. It's not bad. There's no fingernail marks or any marks in the cams that your fingernail picks up on. So I'll give that a quick hand polish. That'll sort that out, but there's also coolant in here, and that's probably from the head gasket itself, obviously, leaking in there, pulling in that coolant. The oil stinks. It's not very nice. There's certain areas of the head that old oil pulls even for oil changes, and that tells a lot of history on the motor. Like, you can buy a new car, new used vehicle, pull the head off and find the actual service record of it, in a manner of speaking, because there's just areas that you can't flush out unless you pull it, and you can find the little bits and pieces floating around in there. But yeah, see, that's starting to, it's got a bit of a build up on these cam journals here, like it's an actual physical build up. You can see I'm wiping that crap off, so might be some kind of additive in the oil maybe, or just sheer lack of maintenance, I would say, is probably likely. So let's keep getting this head off, and yeah, see what else we got. Oh, actually, on that note, so what do we have? It looks like we've got a combination here of, I've gurneyed it down, so it has taken a bit of this oil off. But what we've got is a combination of this front seal leaking. You can see the build up directly below it, and it's a seal or something. We actually run up the block. The intake cam seal as well also had a leak there. So we'll fix those up, clean them up. There was a bit of a leak I was concerned of on the back of the block, but I think that's a lot of this is just getting pushed out of this little catch can thing here, the PCV setup, the OEM one, because he did have, or does have, bad or failing rings, or just a lot of blow by, and it is pressurizing that system, which helped a little bit getting the catch cam, but that is not, like, that's a band-aid fix. It's not going to fix your main issue. So I think it's pressurizing the crankcase and pushing oil mist out through here, and that's why you can see it kind of just sitting in on the top of all that. But that's all coming off, being deleted. We get rid of that. He's got some crazy looking heater setup that we are just going to either set up the OEM setup, which I think this hose is backwards. I think it actually goes around the other way. We'll either set up the OEM heater, which is good for winter, obviously. These cars generally, oh, we're missing a bolt here too. That's not ideal, because this guy will move around on you. This is the thermostat housing. There's a missing bolt, so we'll have to replace that. Bloody hard little guy to find, just because of the length. There's a very shallow point inside there. But anyway, digression. Let's keep pulling the head off. Alright boys, look at this. Everything is apart. She is completely torn down, ready for a good cleanup. And good bloody thing that we got it torn down at this point too. So we've had it outside, degreased, gave it a good gurney. You can see it's cleaned up pretty alright. This isn't the final clean that she'll get. She needs another couple of scrubs, and we're probably going to paint up the old block and head too, so she looks nice and schmick, just so she looks like this guy here. You can see the head and block and trans is all painted the same color, and it just looks just that little bit fresher. Block itself looks good. There's no marring or any scoring, or it doesn't look like there's too many polish points on these boards, so that should get a hone and clean up pretty good. Skim the head, skim the block as well. We're going to get into these ports and clean them up. There's a bit of carbon build up, as you'd expect for something of this age. Other than that, no real issues. Doesn't look too bad. We were getting to the point where this is going to be kind of a catastrophic failure. Just looking at the maintenance of this particular engine, some of the wear factors, the seals, the oil quality was definitely neglected for a long while. You can see here the build up in some of the areas gives you a good indication of the history of the servicing of the engine, because you can't always change oil and just expect it to be perfect. So we can see that, and some of our bearing caps are pretty well messed up too. Now, there was actually some major scoring on the bearings. I can actually flip these over because we're going to be running skunk to dual valve springs, so if they fall over, they fall over, not a biggie. But if you have a look in here, these should not be here. That is some major scoring in there, and this one's got a bit of a polish to one side, and this one here also has some pretty bad scoring. Pistons, there's some minor wear on the side on the load faces, but other than that, they seem good. They seem in one piece, nothing wrong with that. And these just seem like they are worn. There's a couple of little scores on, I think it's this one here, but not bad enough to get the fingernail. Just a little bit of cosmetic damage there. But thankfully, these OEM bearings are actually, they're a soft enough tri-metal that the bearing itself caught all the abuse. I've had a look at the crank, ran my finger down the whole thing. There is no marks or marring on there, which is good. Some of these spots you can tell on the crank were getting a little bit toasty. That's just the blackening that you can see on there. Some of that will come off and scrub off. It'll just be like an oil film buildup. But you can tell it's had a little bit of heat going through it, essentially leading up to a spun bearing or something pretty bad of that nature. So thankfully we got it torn down and ready for the machinist. We're going to go through and clean all the oil off, literally everything. It is everywhere, and that is not ideal. You can see on here, you can see the little bits of, like the little drops that you see in there is the coolant that made its way into the cooling system, and it made its way into the oil system as well. While coolant made its way into the oil made its way into the coolant. These cams are all good. There's some kind of marks on the top. This is the kind of stuff we want to look for when we're rebuilding the motor. There's some marks on the top, but they're aesthetic. You can't feel them with your fingernail. It's not catching on any of them. So I'll give that a clean and a polish up. All the valve train, it looks good, albeit it needs one heck of a clean. These look a little bit clogged up. These are the oil squirters for the OEM pistons. They spray oil up the bottom of the skirts, and they keep the stock pistons cool, which is what you need for your OEM setup. If you're going with forged, you can cap them and run some more oil pressure. Obviously blocking them means the oil doesn't need to evacuate through there, lowering the oil pressure at high RPM. So we'll get these all cleaned out, put them back in because we are reusing these, and yeah, I'm going to do that today. I'm going to drop this motor off to Brown's Engineering in Launton, get them to do all the work for that while I just go through, scrub up and clean up all of these parts. We're going to shim the oil pump and stuff. I might do a quick little video on some of the small maintenance things that I do while just cleaning this stuff. And yeah, that'll probably actually call it for this particular video. And then we'll just do another couple just to kind of break it up, simplify it a bit. And yeah, I guess thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, any questions and all of that kind of stuff in the comments. I love answering that stuff, love helping you guys out. And yeah, peace, have a good one.